Welcome back, dear friends and story lovers. Tonight we bring you a tale where love is tested, secrets come to light, and fate takes an unexpected turn. Every moment will pull you in deeper, and every choice could change everything. Where you're watching from in the comments, and if this story touches your heart, like, subscribe, share it with someone who believes in true love, and hit the bell so you never miss the next chapter. Asterisk, the blood on Sophia's apron had dried to a rust-colored stain by the time she reached the cross-deck tower. Her hands trembled as she balanced the silver catering tray. Not from nerves about the contract, but from what she'd left behind in the alley 3 blocks away. The morning sun cast long shadows across Chicago's downtown streets, and she pulled her emerald coat tighter, hiding the evidence of her other life. Inside the gleaming lobby, marble floors reflected fluorescent lights that made her feel exposed. Every security camera seemed to track her movement as she approached the reception desk. The friendly receptionist's smile felt like mockery when Sophia knew what kind of person she really was. "Sophia Blake from Delicious Moments Catering," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Executive board meeting on the 35th floor." The elevator Banksy hummed with quiet efficiency. As the doors closed around her, Sophia caught her reflection in the polished steel. Green eyes that had seen too much stared back at her. The catering business was supposed to be her escape, her chance at redemption. Rebecca didn't know about the other work, the jobs that paid for their rent when legitimate contracts fell through. The elevator stopped at the 28th floor. A man stepped inside, and Sophia's breath caught. Not because he was handsome, though the charcoal suit and dark hair were striking. It was his eyes. Cold blue steel that had seen violence, recognized it in others. This wasn't some corporate executive. This was a predator, same as her. He pressed the button for the 40th floor, positioning himself in the corner with calculated precision. The silence stretched between them, thick with mutual recognition. Sophia gripped her tray tighter, wondering if he could smell the fear still clinging to her clothes. When his stomach growled, breaking the tension, he moved with lightning speed. His hand shot out, grabbing one of the gourmet sandwiches from her tray before she could react. "Excuse me?" Sophia said, turning to face him fully. "What do you think you're doing?" He paused mid-bite, studying her with those dangerous eyes. "My building, my company, my sandwich." His voice was smooth velvet over razor blades. "Nathan Cross." The name hit her like a physical blow. She knew that name from Rebecca's research, but also from whispered conversations in dark corners of the city. Nathan Cross wasn't just a tech CEO. He was the kind of man who made problems disappear. "Well, Mr. Cross," she said, matching his predatory smile with one of her own. "You're going to look pretty foolish when your board meeting is missing a sandwich, because the CEO couldn't control his appetite." Nathan's laugh was rich and dark. "And you are? Sophia Blake? The woman whose reputation you're currently eating?" The elevator jolted suddenly, throwing Sophia against the rail. The lights flickered once, twice, then died completely. Da-da-da. In the darkness, she heard Nathan's sharp intake of breath and the subtle sound of a weapon being drawn. Emergency lighting bathed them in hellish red. The elevator had stopped between floors, and the digital display showed they were trapped between the 31st and 32nd levels. Nathan holstered whatever he'd drawn and picked up the emergency phone. After a brief, terse conversation, he hung up with a grim expression. 2 hours minimum, he said, loosening his tie. Technical failure. In the crimson glow, Sophia saw him truly for the first time. A careful mask had slipped, revealing something hungry and dangerous underneath. She recognized it because she wore the same mask every day. 2 hours trapped with Chicago's most notorious ghost, she whispered. Nathan's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. "What did you just say?" Sophia smiled, and for the first time in months it felt genuine. "I know exactly who you are, Nathan Cross. The question is, do you know who I am?" The emergency lights flickered ominously as Nathan stepped closer, close enough that she could see the scars on his knuckles, smelled the expensive cologne that couldn't quite mask the metallic scent of violence. "I'm starting to get an idea," he murmured, reaching for the emergency stop button and pulling it out completely. The elevator wasn't going anywhere now. even when the power returned. Sophia's pulse quickened, but not from fear. For the first time in years, she was face to face with someone who might actually understand the monster living beneath her skin. The elevator had become a confessional, bathed in emergency lighting. Sophia sat on the floor, her back against the wall, watching Nathan pace the small space like a caged predator. He'd removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves, revealing more scars that told stories she recognized, so Nathan said. Finally settling across from her, the Black Widow of Michigan Avenue is a caterer now. Sophia's blood turned to ice. That name belonged to her past, to the woman who'd eliminated 7 targets in 18 months before vanishing into thin air. I don't know what you're talking about. The Hernandez job. 3 months ago. Clean, professional, made to look like a heart attack. Nathan's smile was sharp as broken glass. Except Miguel Hernandez was one of my informants. The sandwich turned to ash in Sophia's mouth. She'd taken that contract to pay for Rebecca's mother's cancer treatment, never knowing the mark was connected to the man now sitting 3 feet away. He was selling children, she whispered. That's all I needed to know. He was helping me track a human trafficking ring. Because of you, 12 kids are still missing. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Sophia had built her code around protecting the innocent, and now Nathan was telling her she'd condemn children too. Hell. You're lying, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Nathan pulled out his phone, scrolling to a photo that made Sophia's stomach lurch. 12 young faces stared back at her, school photos with bright smiles and hopeful eyes. Their names are Maria, Carlos, Alina. Nathan's voice grew softer as he recited each name, burning them into her memory. Hernandez was 3 days away from giving me the warehouse location when he died of that convenient heart attack. Sophia's hands shook as she pushed the tray away. How was I supposed to know? The contract said he was a child trafficker, not that he was trying to stop them. Because the person who hired you wanted those kids to disappear forever. Nathan leaned forward, his eyes boring into hers. Someone played you, Sophia. Used your conscience against you. The revelation struck like lightning. Someone had manipulated her into eliminating their own obstacle, using her moral code as a weapon. The thought made her physically ill. Who? The word came out as a growl. That's what I've been trying to find out for months. But here's the twist. Nathan's smile turned predatory again. Whoever it was also put a hit out on you. Word is, there's $500,000 for the Black Widow's head. Sophia felt the walls of the elevator closing in. That's impossible. I've been careful, kept a low profile. Someone wants you dead, sweetheart. The only question is why. Nathan stood, extending his hand. Which brings me to my proposition, against your better judgment. Sophia took his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. His touch sent electricity through her skin, a dangerous combination of attraction and recognition. Need the Black Widow for one last job, Nathan said, not releasing her hand. There's a man named Jonathan Pierce, my business partner, who's been selling company secrets to foreign interests. But he's also the one orchestrating that takeover attempt on my company. And you think he's connected to the trafficking ring? I know he is. Pierce has been using Crosstech's resources too. Move money, provide logistics, cover up digital footprints. He's been playing both sides. Businessman by day, monster by night. Sophia tried to pull her hand away, but Nathan's grip tightened. Why not handle it yourself? You're obviously capable. Because Pierce knows I'm onto him. He's surrounded. Himself with bodyguards, never goes anywhere alone. But he has a weakness. Nathan's thumb traced across her knuckles, a gesture both tender and threatening. He's obsessed with beautiful, dangerous women like you. The elevator shuddered, and the lights flickered back to normal. They could hear voices in the shaft above them as maintenance workers began their repairs. What's the job? Sophia asked, hating herself for being interested. Get close to Pierce. Make him trust you. Then get me evidence of his trafficking connections. And in return, I'll help you find whoever set you up. We clear your name, get you out of the game for. Good. Nathan's eyes softened slightly. Your friend Rebecca doesn't have to know about any of this. The mention of Rebecca sent a chill through Sophia. Her best friend, the one pure thing in her life, had no idea about the blood on Sophia's hands. "How do you know about Rebecca?" Nathan's smile returned, but this time it looked almost apologetic. "I know everything about you, Sophia Blake, including the fact that your catering business is about to go under without more contracts." The elevator lurched back to life, beginning its ascent toward the 35th floor. Their time was running out. "One job," Nathan said urgently. "Help me take down Pierce, and I'll make sure Delicious Moments gets enough contracts to stay afloat forever. Plus, we find out who wants you dead." Sophia stared at him, seeing the desperation beneath his controlled exterior. For this wasn't just about business or revenge. There was something personal driving Nathan Cross, something that made him willing to trust a professional killer with his life. "There's more to this story," she said as the floor numbers climbed. "What aren't you telling me?" Nathan's jaw tightened, and for a moment she saw genuine pain flicker across his features. "Pierce killed someone I cared about. Made it look like an accident, just like you made Hernandez look like a heart attack." The elevator dinged at the 35th floor, and the doors began to open. A hallway full of concerned executives waited beyond, but Sophia only had eyes for Nathan. "If I do this," she whispered, "if I help you destroy Pierce, what happens to us afterward?" Nathan stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his breath against her ear. "That depends on whether you can live with having a monster's blood on your hands instead of a hero's." As Sophia stepped out of the elevator with her tray of remaining sandwiches, she felt Nathan's eyes burning into her back. She'd entered that elevator as a killer trying to go straight. She was leaving it as a woman about to dive deeper into darkness than she'd ever gone before. The executive assistant apologized profusely about the elevator malfunction, but Sophia barely heard the words. Her mind was already racing, planning her approach to Jonathan Pierce. Behind her, the elevator doors closed, carrying Nathan Cross back to his penthouse office. But his words echoed in her head like a promise and a threat. One job. One last. Dance with the devil. As she arranged the sandwiches for the board meeting, Sophia realized she was no longer trying to escape her past. She was about to weaponize it. 3 days after the elevator encounter, Sophia stood in the bathroom of Chicago's most exclusive nightclub, applying crimson lipstick with surgical precision. The black dress she wore cost more than her rent, courtesy of Nathan's expense account. Tonight, she would meet Jonathan Pierce for the first time. The plan was simple in theory. Pierce attended the same charity auction every month, hunting for his next obsession. Sophia would be the perfect bait, sophisticated, mysterious, and dangerous. Enough to catch his attention. Her phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. "He's here. North corner booth. Remember your Helena Vasquez, art dealer from Barcelona?" Sophia tucked the phone into her purse, checking the small recording device hidden in her jewelry one last time. Everything depended on Pierce taking the bait tonight. Club's main floor pulsed with bass-heavy music and dim lighting that cast everyone in shadow. Sophia moved through the crowd like a predator, every step calculated to draw attention. She could feel eyes following her, but only one pair mattered. Jonathan Pierce sat exactly where Nathan had said he would. Silver-haired man in his 50s with the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. Was handsome in the way that power made men handsome, but Sophia saw the rot underneath. This was a man who viewed people as commodities. She didn't approach him directly. Instead, she positioned herself at the bar, ordering an expensive whiskey and letting him come to her. It didn't take long. "You have exquisite taste," Pierce said, sliding onto the bar stool beside her. His cologne was suffocating, meant to overwhelm, rather than attract. "That's a 25-year Macallan." Sophia turned, giving him her most enigmatic smile. "I've learned that life's too short for cheap alcohol or cheap men." Pierce's eyes lit up with predatory interest. "Jonathan Pierce? And you are?" "Lena Vasquez." She extended her hand, letting him hold it a moment too long. "I deal in rare acquisitions." "What kind of acquisitions?" "The kind that most people can't afford or don't have access to." Sophia took a sip of her whiskey, watching Pierce over the rim. Beautiful things that come with complicated histories. The hook was set. She could see it in his eyes. The same look a shark got when it smelled blood in the water. I think we should continue this conversation somewhere more private, Pierce said, signaling for the check. As they left the club together, Sophia caught a glimpse of Nathan watching from across the street. Even in the darkness, she could see the tension in his posture. This was personal for him in ways she was only beginning to understand. Pierce's penthouse apartment overlooked the lake. All glass and steel and sterile surfaces. No warmth, no humanity. It felt like a mausoleum for the living. Impressive, Sophia said, accepting the wine he offered her. You must do very well for yourself. I've diversified my interests beyond traditional business, Pierce said, settling beside her on the leather couch. Sometimes the most profitable ventures are the ones that exist in gray areas. Gray areas can be lucrative, Sophia agreed, letting her fingers trail along his arm. It can also be dangerous. Pierce's hand covered hers, his grip firm enough to be a warning, only if you don't know how to manage risk. I've learned that with the right connections, the right information, any risk can be mitigated. Information is currency, Sophia murmured, moving closer. What kind of information do you trade in, Jonathan? His smile was pure predator now, the kind that could end careers, destroy lives, topple governments, but also the kind that can make the right person very, very wealthy. The recording device in her necklace was catching every word, but Sophia needed more. She needed specifics, names, locations. She needed Pierce to trust her enough to show his hand. That sounds fascinating, she said, letting her accent thicken. Slightly, in my line of work, discretion and connections are everything. Perhaps we could help each other. Pierce's eyes narrowed with calculating interest. What exactly do you deal in, Helena? This was the moment. Sophia leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. People, Jonathan, very special people. The kind that some collectors pay premium prices for. The words left a bitter taste in her mouth, but Pierce's reaction was immediate. His pupils dilated, and his breathing quickened. She'd found his trigger. That's a dangerous business, he said softly. Only if you don't have the right infrastructure. Transportation, housing, documentation. I imagine someone with your resources could provide that kind of support. Pierce stood suddenly, walking to the window that overlooked the city. You know, Helena, I had a business partner once. It's very much like you. It's beautiful, intelligent, unafraid to work in those gray areas we discussed. Sophia's blood chilled. Happened to her. She got too curious about my operations. Started asking questions, digging into things that were none of her business. Pierce turned back to her, and his mask had completely slipped. I had to terminate our partnership. The pieces clicked into place. The woman Nathan had mentioned. The one Pierce had killed. This was her replacement in Pierce's twisted ecosystem. That must have been difficult, Sophia said carefully. Business is business. Loyalty is earned, but betrayal. Pierce moved closer, and Sophia could see the violence lurking in his eyes. Betrayal is punished. Her phone buzzed with a text. Without thinking, she glanced at it. The message was from Nathan. Get out now. Pierce knows who you are. Sophia looked up to find Pierce reading over her shoulder, his face transformed into something monstrous. Well, well, he said softly. Infamous Black Widow, working with Nathan Cross. How deliciously predictable. Sophia was on her feet instantly, but Pierce was faster than she'd expected. He grabbed her wrist, his grip like iron. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize you? Pierce laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. I'm the one who hired you to kill Hernandez, sweetheart. I'm the one who's been hunting you ever since. The revelation hit like a physical blow. Pierce had orchestrated everything. Hernandez's death, her exposure, the contract on her life. He'd been pulling her strings from the beginning. Why? She whispered. Because you're very good at what you do, and I needed Hernandez silenced. But then you disappeared, went soft, started playing house with your little catering friend. Pierce's grip tightened. I can't have loose ends walking around Chicago, especially ones that know my face. Sophia tried to pull away, but Pierce's other hand produced a gun, pressing it against her ribs. Nathan thinks he's so clever, using you to get to me. But what he doesn't know is that you've been mine from the beginning. Every choice you've made, Every move you've taken, I've been orchestrating from the shadows." The recording device was still running, capturing Pierce's confession. But none of that mattered if she didn't survive the next few minutes.
What do
"You want?" she asked. Pierce's smile was pure evil. "I want you to call Nathan. Tell him you have what he needs. When he comes to collect it, I'll kill you both, and finally close this chapter of my life." As Pierce forced her toward the phone, Sophia realized that Nathan had been right about one thing. This wasn't just about business or revenge. It was personal, and personal vendettas always ended in blood. The question was, whose blood would it be? Sophia's fingers trembled as she dialed Nathan's number. Pierce's gun pressed against her spine. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago's skyline glittered like scattered diamonds, beautiful and cold. "Make it convincing," Pierce whispered, his breath hot against her ear. "One wrong word, and I'll put a bullet through your heart before he can even hear you scream." Nathan answered on the first ring. "Sophia, did you get it?" "I have everything you need," she said, her voice steady, despite the terror coursing through her veins. Pierce confessed to the trafficking operation, the murders, all of it. "Jesus, that's incredible. Where are you?" Sophia closed her eyes, praying Nathan would hear the desperation beneath her words. His penthouse. Apartment 4500 in the Meridian Tower. "You should come quickly, Jonathan, before I lose my nerve." There was a pause on the other end. Had caught her mistake using Pierce's first name instead of his last, a small signal that something was wrong. "I'm on my way," Nathan said carefully. "Stay exactly where you are." Pierce snatched the phone away, ending the call with a satisfied smile. "Perfect. We'll be here in 20 minutes. Just enough time to set the stage." "What stage?" Sophia asked, though she dreaded the answer. "A murder-suicide, of course." Grief-stricken CEO, driven mad by his business partner's betrayal, kills the assassin he hired, and then himself. Very tragic, very believable. Pierce moved to a cabinet, withdrawing a second gun and a small glass vial filled with clear liquid. "This will make it look like Nathan overdosed on heroin before shooting you. The police will find your confession, detailing how you were hired to kill me but couldn't go through with it." "You've thought of everything," Sophia said bitterly. "I didn't become successful by leaving things to chance." Pierce checked his watch. 15 minutes. Just enough time for you to understand exactly how thoroughly you've been played. Gestured toward the living room's massive photograph wall, and Sophia's blood turned to ice. Mixed among the legitimate business photos were surveillance shots of her and Rebecca. Images of their apartment, their catering truck, even pictures of Rebecca's mother in her hospital bed. "You see, my dear, I've been watching you both for months. Your little friend Rebecca is quite lovely, isn't she? Be a shame if something happened to her while you and Nathan are having your final conversation." The threat hit Sophia like a physical blow. "Leave her out of this. She has nothing to do with any of this. It has everything to do with this. She's your weakness, your soft spot. The reason you tried to go legitimate?" Pierce's smile was pure malice. "I had hoped to use her as leverage to keep you in line, but you forced my hand." Sophia's mind raced, calculating distances, angles, escape routes. The gun at her back never wavered, but Pierce had made a mistake in showing her the photos. Now she knew exactly how far he was willing to go. "You want to know the real beauty of this plan?" Pierce continued, clearly enjoying his moment of victory. "Nathan Cross isn't coming here to save you. He's coming here to die, just like his precious Sarah. Sarah, my former business partner, the one I mentioned earlier. Nathan's been hunting me for 2 years, ever since I had her killed." Pierce's laugh was sharp and cruel. "She was going to expose our trafficking operation. Ruin everything I'd built. Sound familiar?" The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. Nathan hadn't just been using Sophia to get revenge. This was about the woman he'd loved, the woman Pierce had murdered. He loved her, Sophia whispered, obsessively, foolishly. And now he's going to die for it, just like she did. The elevator chimed in the hallway outside, announcing Nathan's arrival. Pierce moved behind Sophia, pressing the gun harder against her back. "Remember, sweetheart? One wrong move, and your friend Rebecca joins us in the afterlife." The front door opened, and Nathan stepped inside. He'd changed from his expensive, suit into black tactical gear, and Sophia could see the outline of weapons concealed beneath his jacket. This wasn't the polished businessman from the elevator. This was the predator she'd glimpsed in the emergency lighting. "Let her go, Pierce," Nathan said, his voice deadly calm. "This is between you and me. But it's so much more than that." "Now," Pierce replied, keeping Sophia between them as a human shield. "See, Nathan, your little assassin here has been working for me all along. Every job she's taken in the past 6 months, every mark she's eliminated, I've been the one paying her bills." Nathan's eyes flicked to Sophia, and she saw the moment doubt crept in. "That's not possible, isn't it? What do you think she's been keeping her catering business afloat? Rebecca's mother's cancer treatments aren't cheap, and legitimate catering jobs barely cover the rent." Pierce's gun never wavered. The Moretti job, the Senator Williams elimination, even poor Miguel Hernandez. All my contracts, all my problems, solved by your precious Black Widow. Sophia watched Nathan's face crumble as the implications sank in. She'd been Pierce's weapon without even knowing it, used to eliminate his enemies and consolidate his power. "Tell him, Sophia," Pierce commanded. "Tell him how you've been taking my money for months." The words stuck in her throat. It was true, all of it. The anonymous contracts that had kept her business running, the perfect intelligence that made each job so clean and simple. She'd been Pierce's puppet, dancing to his strings while believing she was in control. "It's true," she whispered, seeing Nathan's expression harden. "But I didn't know it was you. I swear, Nathan, I didn't know." "Ignorance is such an ugly excuse," Pierce said. "But don't worry, you'll both have eternity to discuss it." That. When Sophia saw it, Nathan's hand moving slowly toward his concealed weapon. He was going to try something desperate, something that would probably get them both killed, unless she acted first. "Pierce," she said suddenly, her voice taking on a different tone. "Before you kill us, there's something you should know about that recording I made." Pierce's attention shifted slightly. "What about it?" "I didn't just record our conversation. I streamed it live to a secure server. Every word you said, every confession you made, it's already in the hands of people who know exactly what to do with it." The lie came easily, desperately. She needed to buy Nathan time, needed to give him an opening. "You're lying," Pierce snarled, but she could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "Am I? Check your phone. Look at the news feeds. See if any interesting. UDO files have surfaced in the last hour." Pierce hesitated, his grip on the gun loosening slightly as doubt crept in. It was the opening Nathan had been waiting for. He moved like lightning, diving to the side as his own weapon cleared its holster. Pierce spun toward him, pulling the trigger twice in rapid succession. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. Sophia felt something hot and wet spray across her face as Nathan's body hit the floor. But in the same instant, Nathan's shots found their mark. Pierce staggered backward, crimson spreading across his white shirt. For a moment, the penthouse was silent, except for the sound of labored breathing and the distant hum of the city below. Then Pierce laughed, a wet, choking sound. "You think this changes anything? I have people, resources, backup plans. Ivan, if I die tonight, Rebecca Martinez dies tomorrow." He raised his gun towards Sophia with shaking hands, preparing for one final act of spite. That's when Nathan, supposedly dying on the floor, fired his last shot. Pierce's body crumpled, his finger tightening reflexively on the trigger as he fell. The bullet went wide, shattering the massive window behind Sophia and letting in the cold Chicago wind. Sophia rushed to Nathan's side, pressing her hands against the spreading stain on his chest. His eyes were already glazing over, but he managed to focus on her face. "Sarah?" he whispered, and Sophia realized he was seeing someone else, someone from his past. "No," she said fiercely. "Nathan, it's Sophia. Stay with me." His hand found hers, slick with blood. "The server," he gasped. "Real one. Everything's backed up. Phone call Rebecca. Tell her to run." Then his eyes closed, and Sophia was alone with 2 corpses and the sound of sirens growing closer in the distance. She had maybe 3 minutes before the police arrived. 3 minutes to save Rebecca's life and her own. 3 minutes to decide who she really was. Sophia Blake, the caterer, or the Black Widow who'd just killed again. 6 months later, Sophia stood in the cemetery where they'd buried Nathan Cross, a bouquet of white roses in her hands. The headstone was simple, elegant, bearing only his name and dates. No mention of the empire he'd built or the secrets he'd taken to the grave. "I brought coffee," Rebecca said, appearing beside her with 2 steaming cups. "That terrible stuff you love from the diner on Michigan Avenue." Sophia accepted the cup gratefully, inhaling the bitter aroma. Rebecca still didn't know the whole truth about that night, about who Sophia really was. The official story was that she'd been a witness to a business deal gone wrong. That Nathan Cross and Jonathan Pierce had killed each other in a dispute over company control. The evidence Nathan had gathered was enough to expose Pierce's trafficking network posthumously. 12 children were found and returned to their families. The FBI had called it the biggest breakthrough in organized crime in decades. But Sophia knew the real victory was smaller, more personal. Rebecca was alive. The cancer treatments had been successful. Delicious Moments was thriving with a mysterious influx of legitimate contracts that Sophia suspected came from Nathan's final gift. "You know," Rebecca said carefully, "you don't have to keep coming here every week. It's been 6 months. Soph, maybe it's time to let go." Sophia touched the small scar on her palm where Nathan's blood had mixed with her own that night in Pierce's penthouse. "Some debts can't be repaid." What kind of debt could you possibly owe a man you barely knew? The question hung in the air. Between them, Rebecca had always been too perceptive for her own good, too willing to see the best in people. If she ever learned what Sophia had really done, what she'd been, it would destroy everything pure left in both their lives. "He saved my life," Sophia said simply. It wasn't the whole truth, but it wasn't entirely a lie either. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the morning sun paint the headstones in shades of gold. A few graves over, Sophia noticed fresh flowers on another marker. The name read, Sarah Michelle Chen. And suddenly she understood why Nathan had chosen this particular cemetery for his final rest. Even in death, he'd wanted to be close to the woman he'd loved and lost. "I have news," Rebecca said suddenly, her voice bright with forced cheer. "The Richardson wedding next month. They've agreed to our full catering package, plus desserts. It's our biggest contract yet." Sophia smiled, genuinely happy for the first time in weeks. "That's wonderful. We should celebrate." "Actually, there's something else." Rebecca's tone grew serious. "Tom Richardson mentioned something interesting when he called to confirm. Said his security team had done background checks on all the vendors, and they wanted him to know that. Your previous business experience was exemplary, but classified." The blood in Sophia's veins turned to ice. "What does that mean?" "I don't know. But Soph, what business experience?" "Before we started the catering company, you were working at that insurance firm downtown. They went out of business, remember? The lie they'd built their friendship on was crumbling, and Sophia could see the exact moment Rebecca began to put the pieces together. The mysterious contracts that kept them afloat, the expensive equipment that appeared without explanation, the way Sophia sometimes disappeared for days. At a time, "Rebecca," Sophia began, but her friend held up a hand. "I found something in your desk last week when I was looking for the inventory sheets." Rebecca reached into her purse and withdrew a small silver compact mirror. But when she opened it, instead of makeup, it contained a syringe and 3 small vials of clear liquid. The same poison Sophia had used on Miguel Hernandez. Her insurance policy kept close in case her past ever caught up with her present. "Tell me this is for diabetic injections," Rebecca whispered. Tell me there's some medical explanation for why my best friend carries unmarked drugs in a hidden compartment." Sophia stared at the evidence of her true nature, feeling the careful facade of her new life crumble around her feet. She could lie again, craft another story to protect Rebecca's innocence. But she was tired of lies, tired of carrying the weight of her secrets alone. "I can't tell you that," Sophia said quietly. Rebecca's face went pale. "My God, Sophia, what are you?" The truth hung between them like a blade. Sophia could see her friend's mind racing, connecting dots, remembering inconsistencies that suddenly made terrible sense. "I'm someone who kills people for money, Sophia. said, the words falling like stones into still water. There I was. Before you. Before this. Rebecca staggered backward, the compact mirror falling from nerveless fingers to shatter on the cemetery path. You're lying. You have to be lying. I wish I were. Sophia's voice was steady, but inside she was breaking apart. The Black Widow, they called me. 7 successful contracts before I met you and decided I wanted something different. The insurance company never existed. I was working a job in Chicago, planning to disappear afterward. But then you walked into that coffee shop where I was waiting for my contact, and you were so bright, so alive. You talked about your dreams of starting a catering business. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to be part of something beautiful instead of something deadly. Rebecca was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. All this time, I thought you were my best friend. I am your best friend. Everything between us is real, Rebecca. The business, our friendship, the way I care about you. That's the only honest thing I've ever built. But you've lied to me about everything else. Yes. And Nathan Cross? And what really happened that night? Sophia closed her eyes, seeing Nathan's face as the light faded from his eyes. He was like me, killer trying to be something better. Pierce had murdered the woman he loved, and Nathan wanted revenge. He used me to get close to Pierce, but in the end, we used each other. Did you love him? The question cut deeper than any blade. I don't know what love is supposed to feel like. But when he died in my arms, something inside me died with him. Something I didn't even know I had. Rebecca wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, trying to process the magnitude of Sophia's confession. Do you still kill people? No. The night Nathan died, I made a choice. I chose this life. This business, you, chose to be Sophia Blake instead of the Black Widow. But you kept the poison, old habits, insurance policies. I never know when my past might catch up with me. Rebecca stared at the shattered mirror at their feet, its fragments reflecting the morning sun like broken stars. I don't know how to process this. I don't know how to look at you and not see a monster. I was going to say a stranger. They stood in the shadow of Nathan's headstone, 2 women whose friendship had been built on a foundation of lies and blood. The silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of unspoken truths and the distant sound of traffic from the city beyond. Finally, Rebecca spoke. My mother always said that people aren't defined by their worst moments. They're defined by what they choose to do after. Sophia looked up, hope flickering in her chest like a candle flame in the wind. These past 18 months, Rebecca continued, watching you work, seeing how much you care about our clients, about making their special days perfect. That's not fake, is it? That's not an act. No, that's the real me, or the person I'm trying to become. Rebecca picked up the pieces of the broken mirror, careful not to cut herself on the sharp edges. Then we have a decision to make. Do we let your past destroy our future, or do we figure out how to move forward? You would do that? Knowing what I've done? I don't know yet. I need time to think, to process all of this. But Sophia... Rebecca looked directly into her eyes, and Sophia saw something there that looked almost like understanding. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption, even monsters. They walked back through the cemetery together, past the graves of the forgotten and the mourned. At the gate, Rebecca turned to face her. I'm going to visit my mother for a few days. When I come back, we'll talk about what happens next. The business, with us, with everything. Sophia nodded, not trusting her voice. And Sophia, get rid of the poison. If you've really chosen a different life, prove it. After Rebecca left, Sophia returned to Nathan's grave one last time. She knelt beside the headstone and carefully poured the contents of each vial into the earth, watching the clear liquid disappear into the soil. I don't know if you can hear me, she whispered to the marble stone, but I wanted you to know that. I understand now. Love isn't about being worthy of someone. It's about choosing to become worthy of them every single day. A week later, Rebecca returned from her mother's house. She found Sophia in the kitchen of Delicious Moments, working on a wedding cake with the same careful precision she'd once used for more deadly purposes. I've made my decision, Rebecca said without preamble. Sophia's hands stilled on the piping bag. And I'm staying. You're staying. But there are conditions. Name them. Complete honesty from now on. No more secrets. No more lies. If your past comes back, I need to know immediately. Agreed. And we're going to do something good with this business. Really good. Not just catering events, but using our success to help people. Shelters, soup kitchens, charity work. If you want redemption, you have to earn it. Sophia felt tears prick at the corner of her eyes. I'd like that. Rebecca moved closer, studying the intricate sugar flowers Sophia was creating. One more thing. You need to forgive yourself for Nathan Cross. He made his choice that night, just like you made yours. You both chose love over revenge, even if it cost you everything. How do you know that? Because you're here making wedding cakes instead of hunting down Pierce's associates. Because you chose me, chose this life, even when it would have been easier to disappear. 6 months later, Delicious Moments had expanded into a full-scale operation that donated half its profits to organizations fighting human trafficking. Sophia still visited Nathan's grave every week. But now she brought stories of the lives they'd saved instead of guilt over the ones they'd lost. Standing in their new commercial kitchen, watching Rebecca laugh with their team of young chefs, Sophia realized that redemption wasn't a destination. It was a daily choice, made over and over. To be better than the person you used to be. She'd been the Black Widow, feared and deadly. She'd been Sophia Blake, the caterer trying to hide from her past. But now, for the first time, she was simply herself, a woman who'd learned that the most dangerous thing of all was letting someone love the monster inside you. And somehow, miraculously, Rebecca had chosen to love her anyway. Outside the Chicago, wind carried the scent of changing seasons and new possibilities. Inside, surrounded by the warmth of ovens and the laughter of people who'd become her chosen family, Sophia finally understood what Nathan had died protecting. Love wasn't about being worthy. It was about being willing to become worthy, one choice at a time. The end.